A very good morning to you, Raymond. It's a Friday
Good morning.
morning. Are you on top of it this morning?
Morning,
Depends,
Terry.
depends what it is, right?
I tell you. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, up for the day,
Oh, good, good. Uh,
just trusting the Lord and watching what's happening.
Alrighty.
Um, I think it's a Eugene Peterson that says Christ plays in what 10,000 places, that book of his.
Yeah,
And he reckons all you need to do is to just watch where the Lord is playing and join him there.
that's it. That's it.
So
Okay,
I'm up for it.
sure. Okay, I can see you well. So we're going to continue our discussion, listeners, with the listeners, in terms of looking at the importance of story and why history is so significant, why it is so important. The last time we were together, we looked at uh, learning from our mistakes and how that cultural preservation is made through history and vice versa. So today we want to look at how our history shapes us, how our stories shape our lives, and then in turn impact on decision making. So these are huge areas. But let's stop off at the shaping of identity, because you and I are in a country where it's amazing that there's been a great struggle, and there still is, when it comes to cultural identity amongst the people group that you and I spring from. If there's ever confusion about who are we, then it's the colored folk. Let's just call them that and not have to define it for a million reasons. Give a million excuses for it. Um, and so, as we come at this from a biblical angle, let's start out, Raymond, talking about just very briefly your background growing up on the Durban side of things, because you brought that culture with you when you eventually came down to the Cape. I don't think you left it behind. Talk to us a bit about the broad sweep of that cultural coloring, what it looked like for you.
Uh, um, there used to be a song years ago. I think it was called Mr. Big Stuff. Who do you think you are?
I remember the song.
So, so I know that was a kind of a statement of defiance. You're not just going to come here and do your own thing because you're Mr. Big Stuff. But on the other hand, it could also be a question, you know, really, who do you really think you are? I think, well, by reason of locality and, of course, birth and so forth, I find myself in the colored group right now. And, but when I look back, I can see there's a number of factors that contributed to where I am. Obviously, mother and father meeting each other and setting up environments because we are children of our environment, products of our environment.
Mm.
And with that, we have the situation where you, I don't know how it works because one time you comfortable in a situation and then the next time you get plucked up by your roots and you get sorted out because you suddenly discover, hey, I'm not really who I thought I was,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
And so you got to sit down and listen to the elders. And so the elders will begin to tell you. The problem we have is that most of us, I'm not sure your side, but on our side, we do not we do not have this whole issue of record keeping. So the continuity is, it's not just there. So when we dig, we got to go to the oldest surviving person. And right now, I think I'm like probably the third oldest surviving person.
Sure. In your
I
family,
have,
in
speaking about my family,
family.
I have an aunt that my mother's brother married. So she is the only aunt now in that aspect from my mother's side. And of course, a sister before me. And we just grew up comfortably knowing that these are our people. We are, structured, we set, we comfortable in the situation. But I think the thing that hit us was apartheid
Mm,
way back. Remember, we were children in the 50s
mm,
and in the 60s. And one time we were all living together.
mm,
And then we got a rude awakening.
mm,
Suddenly we had to go upstairs on those double decker buses. Suddenly left, we were left behind, children that were left behind because everybody else moved off. Now I'm speaking largely about the white situation when we were going to school with them, you know,
mm, mm,
and enjoying the benefits back then, not fully understanding the situation, but enjoying the benefits. And the rude awakening, where we were split up and sent to a colored area. There's a black area, the Indian area, and of course the white area, and
mm,
never fully understanding the deep lying, it's embedded uh, uh, um, feelings that the people have,
mm,
and they're always pointing back in that direction. So I began to try to put two and two together, understanding that we were coming from back then. It was the point that would be on the beachfront right now, the point, and we were moved to an area called Mayville Sydenham, and then staying by my grandfather. And suddenly, my grandfather was moved out of his beautiful home that he had in Tollgate, and Tollgate became white. And my grandfather went away to Red Hill in Clyde Road, and my father, mother, and myself at the time, we had to go further down the road, and we were renting from the Indian community and so forth. And then eventually moved to Wentworth. I I know that in a very real way, we were already getting shaped as far as identity was concerned, because now suddenly we're becoming aware of these guys over there and those guys over there, and we're not the same,
mm.
even though we were very, very good friends. To this day, we are still good friends, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. Whew.
And
And those are tough realizations to process, right? Because not many people were helpful in terms of coaching us how to deal with that, because our parents, they were struggling with the thing themselves. You know,
ah,
how do you help your kids when you are going through such heavy dehumanization, in the situation?
there you are. And a simple thing like pointing at that person, you know, you would get fiercely
Rebuked,
rebuked,
yeah? Yeah?
maybe a smack on the hand or something. But I just saw the person as that's another, in our situation, that's just another white person. And we grew up with each other. So what's the difference now? You know? So yeah, those were the early days of shaping. And now, back then, I'm sure you remember some of those times. Back then, there was this understanding that if you were not how can I put it, to be gentle. If you were not fair enough,
Mm.
and you didn't have the kind of, the comb test
Yes.
that they used to run through the hair, and if it fell out, then you would pass for,
Yep.
you know.
I call it
So
the pencil test. They run a pencil through your hair. If it fell out, then you were okay. If it got stuck, then you stuck.
you
Yeah, we
see,
laugh about it, but those were terribly painful and dehumanizing exercises. That's for sure.
and
Okay.
now you're living in a situation where you're not understanding what is happening, because up to then you're okay as a youngster, and the
Yeah.
guys around you, there's nothing different in them. But
Yeah.
suddenly the law begins to impress on us that there is something different. So my
Right. Right.
identity is starting to be disturbed now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not fully aware of what is happening. And then a certain colors preferred, and the darker skinned guy like I am would be not even considered, in a sense. And so, in those young days, you want to also speak to the young ladies, and they don't see you; they see someone else.
They don't see you. It's too dark. Oh my
then,
goodness.
then something hit us. It was due to basically overdue. I think. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Can you
Mm.
remember those
Say
things?
it loud.
Those,
I'm black and I'm proud. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so a whole switch occurred. So even the darker guy now could open his mouth. Now these are subtle things that happened.
Mm.
You know, the darker girl, beautiful darker girl, would be able to stand up now and show the beauty.
Mm. Mm.
Um, Sometimes I think it was very reactionary. It should have been something that should have just, motivated us to understand that we created in the image of God, and the image of God is what you see,
Mm.
and there's variety,
Mm.
you know, and you put that together and you understand that every person is precious in the sight of God.
Mm.
Now we were learning these things in Sunday school, but it didn't stick during the week, you know.
Yeah, it disappeared during the week. Yeah.
You see, when you were feeling the pain.
Yeah.
And I, to a certain degree, understand what was happening, because even those that were our educators back then, they had the serious problem of being able to distinguish between this, what was happening, and I'm not too sure if they fully understood what was happening. But
Mm.
nonetheless, I was encouraged to keep going.
Mm.
There were many that saw something, and God used them in different ways to shape my identity. That's why we were speaking some weeks ago, I think, on worldview is not something that you suddenly have. It
Mhm.
it comes upon you in waves. There
Mhm.
are the parents in the cradle. There's others that you gravitate towards as you are growing, and each one leaves something. It could
Mm.
be disastrous in some areas, but I think to a great extent, it shapes our identity.
Mm.
When
Mm.
someone believes in you, you don't want to disappoint that person.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Now that
And,
would
and
be considered a sort of a high point.
there you are.
Mention what is your most horrific memory of what was happening in those years? Can you pinpoint anything in particular? There probably were so many, I would suspect.
One
But
of the,
where did it smack you in the face and you thought, no ways, this is yeah.
yeah, look, we were on the edge of, engaging in the freedom fighting and all those kind of things. On the other hand, we were enjoying flexing the muscles in the community as,
Mhm.
wannabe
Yeah.
gangsters.
Mhm.
But one of the big ones that hit me, look, I always understood that my father is a man, and a strong man at that.
Mm.
The first time that really got to me was when I was working with him. Remember, he came off the whalers and he found a job on the railway as a bedding boy. And now look at the connotation, bedding boy. He
Mm.
has a man,
Yes. Yes.
you see.
Yep.
And so he found his way there, and he organized a job for me in the what they would call the season, the school holidays.
Hmm.
So I'm going to work with him, and he's keeping me by his side, and he's watching me rather closely because there's another part of me that's kind of reactionary, aggressive. You see, I'm not taking too kindly to these people, but the big one for me was the day when I saw a youngster calling my dad, "Hey, boy, come here."
Mm.
I tell you, that was a crucial time in my life. Um, I couldn't. I still, when I think about it, it blew me,
Mm. Mm.
and I was past my father. I ran past my father for him to get to him. I was going to show him, but we were kind of more or less the same age, I think. So we were going to do something to each other, probably, or maybe, my father foresaw what was happening there, and he managed to stop me in time. And my
Sure.
question to him was, how can you let this happen to you?
Mm. Mm.
You know, how can he say things like that to you? You're my father.
Sure.
Man, oh man. It
Makes
took
an
me one,
indelible mark on one, doesn't it?
it
It's so
does, man.
demeaning, you don't even want to repeat it because, and this is your daddy, your hero. Eh,
That's it.
yeah.
And I'm thinking like my dad could have just changed that whole situation just like that. And that youngster could have found himself laying there on the floor or something.
Mm.
But for the sake of his family,
Mm.
because obviously if he does something there, the repercussion is it's way down,
That's right.
you know,
Yep. Yep.
and all of us are going to be suffering. So what was he teaching me? Well, he wasn't teaching me to, bear up with these things.
Mm.
Or I think he was
Mm.
in his own way. He was teaching me there are greater things than these things that you are experiencing. Learn to rise above the situation that's thrown at you.
Mm.
Be resilient, bounce back. A person can say things to you,
Mm.
but you still have to decide how to respond or to react.
Right.
You
Right.
don't have to give in to everything you hear. Sift it, and you got to have filters to sift it through,
Mm.
you know? So those filters are not created in isolation, they created in the trenches, you know?
That's right. In the
So
trenches of the real world. Yeah.
you see, so my dad is teaching me how to respond to this threat of being a non-person, basically.
Mm. Mm.
So that's what he was teaching me there. I'm not sure if he even understood that he was teaching me that.
Mm.
Now, with reflection, I look back and I say, wow, that was basically a defining moment in my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And so I grew with some of those things. I also got to understand later on that this world is, the world is a reality, but it doesn't have to dictate to me. It really doesn't have to dictate to me.
Mm.
Who am I? Who am I? That's the question I need to keep asking
Oh,
myself.
that's a
Who am I?
wonderful question.
You see?
That's a wonderful question. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not a pastor per se. I'm not a husband. Does that define me? Pastor, husband. child, father, grandfather. Those are all the things that are attached to my being, in a sense, but they're not me. I
Raise,
live those things out.
you're raising such an important issue. And I think we definitely need to spend time on it. Because when you talk to most people, they are very much given to their titles, their achievements, their abilities, their attributes. But they have a hard time understanding who they are. Like you have just been articulating, am I this position that I have, this function I have, pastor? Am I this husband? Who am I really? And that's a wonderful question. I want us to touch on that question right at the end of our discussions when we complete these episodes, because I think most, if not all, people struggle with that question. Who am I? Am I my job?
Hmm.
Am I my family name? Am I my credentials? If I got a scribble behind my name, is that me? And some are very given to those kind of things because they'll alert you very quickly. It's Dr. So and so, or it's the right reverend, or it's the pastor. And I mean, there we go. There we go. And these things become ego attachments, don't they?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
use the word what attaches to me.
Hmm.
I think that is so evident in our lives. It takes a lifetime to understand, in a sense, who I really am, and that I'm not my attachments. I'm not my car. I'm not my job. I'm not my success. Those things are
Yes.
hard things to work with and process. But I think what you are relaying here is those things attached to you without you even knowing it, and you're growing up and you're getting married and having kids and you're having grandkids and all of those things are attaching to you. And from time to time, we get these wake up calls,
Hmm.
am I my grandkids? Am I even my kids? You know, at the end of the day, who am I? And so that's our wonderful question that I think we should tackle it right at the end. But where we come from definitely has an impact on us. It shapes us in unique ways. Talk to us very briefly before we conclude here, because we're not going to get into the second part. Um, where you are at now, how, as you look across your life, how has that contributed positively? Now, if we can always talk about the negatives. How do you think it's contributed positively to where you are at now and the calling you are in and the place you find yourself?
Mm.
Talk to us a bit.
Now, it's a journey. It's been a journey, um, tremendous journey. I remember years ago. You know, I'm sure by now you understand that most of the time I speak narratively.
Mhm.
So,
Keep it going.
but years ago I was actually in Cape Town, in Ottery, that reform school. And so I still think about how my mother said, "No, they give you ice cream there and all on a Sunday." I say, "Hey, ma, that's not ice cream there."
Oh my
And
good.
and look, listen to this. I didn't go there because I did something wrong.
Mm.
I went there because, firstly, my mother and my father, he agreed. They did, in their own way, decided that it's better for me to go there because, look, I'm done with my schooling per se. I've passed standard eight, and now I can go and do a trade and this and that. But there's another there's something that's also drawing me. It's magnetic. There's another life that is drawing me, and I'm like in the life and starting to understand what's happening in this life, and then they kind of rudely interrupt. And back then, the government, the welfare, the social welfare, yeah, I'm another product, man.
Mm.
So the social welfare decide, okay, you want to send him, we'll send him. So they send me, my brother and I, to this place. And that's where, um, I think it was in my second year there, we were sitting and watching that movie of Cross on the Switchblade.
Mm.
Now, watching it, I could identify because that's where we were, that's where we came from, and but this was the first time actually sitting and watching it and understanding. But what happened there? The Spirit of God hit my aangekla, you see.
Mm.
He convicted me, and I just broke down. I broke down. Now there's 750 young boys or young men ranging from 13 to about 19 years old. And I mean, every one of them are struggling with the same thing, identity.
Mm.
And the flexing of muscle, testosterone is flowing freely,
Sure.
you know. And in all of that, you got to maintain your sanity and not be so influenced and affected by this thing that you lose your way. And that's where I believe not only did my mother send me there to kind of assist us or keep us alive, but I think God sent us there. I believe the Lord sent me there.
Mm.
So I would have my first in, spiritual encounter with Him.
Mm.
Now I'm a product of Sunday school,
Mm.
I used to attend maybe 4 Sunday schools on a Sunday.
Sure.
So
That was punishment for Sunday school.
wait. It wasn't punishment because the whole area, all of us guys, we went to the
Mm.
Sunday school and the girls.
Mm.
And it was great because at the end of the year, we had 4 parties to attend, closing parties.
Plus all the girls, right? Okay, now I understand. So it was actually good for you. Well, Raymond, that's an interesting part of your shaping. I mean, you've given me details today that I wouldn't have guessed. If I had
Mm-mm.
known, we would have put a target on your back, man, utterly reformatory. I think
But
the next time we interview you, just don't give us your prison number next time, please. I mean,
don't have, I don't have one.
I'm just checking. I'm just checking. But isn't that an interesting journey? And how long did
Great.
you spend at in Ottery?
About about 3 years. So yes, some unique stuff concerning my journey. I had already passed standard 8. I've never had a problem with school.
Mm,
Never. In fact, I think I was bored at school because the challenges were not there.
mm, mm,
And on a bad, in a bad year, I would come fifth in class. That was a bad year.
mm, mm,
So now I'm at the same time learning verses in the Sunday school, which would play out in years to come.
mm,
When the Lord brought me back to Him, because this is what happened. I believe God saved me as a youngster. He
mm,
gave me the freedom or the rope to run. And at the right time, He reeled me in at 28 years old. And
mm,
those verses came flooding back.
mm.
So Jeremiah sent 1971, I think it was 1973. I come out, so that's about 3 years, and that experience I had there kind of was, kind of shoved to the side. Next time the Lord showed up, look, he also kept me alive. Wow, I thought I was brilliant, but it was God's hand. I thought I
Which
could
means
escape.
which means you had narrow shaves, right? It's another way of saying I had narrow shaves with death.
But he kept me alive. I don't understand what was happening.
Mm.
But picture this now. We're working at the oil refinery. We're sitting on top of a stack of pipes uh, above the guys are working at the bottom. We're just above them, and we're sitting on the pipes. And I'm with my a welder. At that time, I'd just begun doing pipe fitting, and we are busy doing something. This is a friend of mine. We're coming out of the same area. Let's just put it this way: same gang.
Mm.
And suddenly, while I'm busy, we're busy having our usual smoke, and I give him that pipe, and he says, "No, it doesn't do this anymore."
Mm.
You know, and I'm like, "What happened?" And then he starts telling me about Jesus.
Mm.
Now, look, all around us, everybody's swearing and sorting each other out. And then there are people that are saved. You can see they're serving the Lord. And then there are those that give you the wrong impression about Jesus. They're always around too, you know. And they make it so difficult for the guys that are living for Christ. But
Mm.
they claim they're saved too. So, yeah, okay, no problem.
Mm.
And he starts telling me about Jesus. Now, look, the guys around me telling me about Jesus, I don't really know every aspect of their lives.
Mm.
So I will take it as coming from them. But this guy in front of me, I know him.
Mm.
We together almost every day,
Mm.
if not at work, at home, you know. Oh, I tell you, there again, the Lord just dealt with me. I broke down, and now I'm not, now I'm crying, I'm weeping like a baby.
Mm.
But these are not tears of sorrow. These are tears of joy. Something is happening. There's a cleansing process. I
Mm.
don't always speak about this. There's a cleansing process. The first time, the second time, and
Mm.
it seems as if nobody is actually understanding what's happening. What's wrong with you? Why you? Because obviously I'm a kind of a guy that shouldn't be crying like this, you know.
Mm. Mm.
And I'm like, no, 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 you won't understand. And even I myself don't understand what's happening. I
Right.
just know
Right.
there's something inside of me that's being changed.
Mm.
I'm not what I was.
Mm.
I'm also not what I'm becoming, yet there's a process, you know.
Mm.
And that's that. Couple, I think it was about 2 years later, the Lord found me. You
Mm.
see, people say I found the Lord. No,
Mm.
the Lord found me. He set me up. He brought me to himself. This
Mm.
was now in on the Bayhead, working on the oil rigs
Mm.
at the time in the what we call the pipe shop. There, the Lord got hold of me. He sent somebody to tell me about Jesus again. A dear friend, he is still serving the Lord today. Ivan Redman, he is still serving the Lord today. His nickname is Cooks.
Mm.
And so he invited me to church, and I said, no, it's all right, no problem, I'll come. I'll come pick you up. No, 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 hang on, it's all right. In the middle of the gang war, I went to church. God took me there safely. The Wednesday evening Bible study, and dear Pastor Sanders is teaching, and the service stops,
Mm.
you know, and they turn around and look at me. Then I look in the church, I say, hey, but there's a lot of my friends here. What happened? Oh, this is where these guys were hiding, you know,
Oh
and they
my
get
goodness,
excited when they see
Raymond.
me. And so,
We're gonna stop right there because that's a high point. That's a high point, and we're gonna pick that up again because I love what is happening here as you telling your story, talking about how your history has shaped you, and now how decisions are coming to the fore, coming
yeah.
out of that shaping, in the midst of that shaping. And I think
Hmm.
that's what I would love for the listeners to take away from as a takeaway for this morning, so that when we pick up next time, I want you to continue that story from that point onwards, engaging there. Uh, Pastor Sanders is the guy on the floor, and this would be your encounter with him. Would that be the first time you encounter him, or had you known of him before?
First time.
First time. So we're going to pick up in the next episode your encounter with this big man, because he's about your height, right? Is he taller than you? I think he's a bit
Uh,
taller. He was
we kind of almost the same height.
okay.
Um,
And I mean, you wouldn't pick a fight with him because he'd fix you, right? We're going to talk about that next time.
why are you
Uh,
making why are you making me fight now?
Raymond, this was real fun chatting to you and getting to know you a lot better as well. I mean, angles to the story that I've been totally oblivious to, and never thought that you had a stint down here in this wonderful place in South Africa called Cape Town. My goodness me, no wonder you're still here. But Raymond, this was good interacting with you this morning. We'll probably join up again next Friday, same time, same place, because Friday seems to work quite well for you. Let's do it, and we'll come up with the next exciting episode. So thank you for your time, Raymond, and God bless you real good, man.